Hello students. In this session, I will be covering one of the important concept in Visual Basic, that is designing of MDI forms. MDI stands for Multiple Document Interface. So today's concept is designing of Multiple Document Interface Forms, MDI forms. So before actually getting into the topic, how to design MDI forms, first let us understand what is MDI forms. So basically in Visual Basic, we are going to have two different types of forms. First one is SDI, Single Document Interface Forms, SDI forms. Second type is MDI, Multiple Document Interface Forms. So what is the difference between SDI forms and MDI forms? You can observe here, just I will open the notepad application here. See, when I open the notepad application, this window will appear. The notepad application window will appear wherein the user can enter whatever the text as it is the text editor. Okay, here we are going to have a single window. This is a window, or we can call this as the form. Okay, the application form. So in this form we can able to, that is, write the content as it is the text editor. See, whenever I want to open the new form again, when I click on file and select new menu, see, it is going to ask me whether I want to save, or if you don't want to save, then you can just click on don't save. Then see here, what will happen? It will open the new form, but wherein the previous form or the previous application form is just it is replaced, in the sense only one interface or only one form is visible at a time. Okay, here in Notepad we cannot, that is, view multiple forms of the Notepad application. Only one form can be viewed at a time. It means that this application is designed based on SDI form, single document interface form. So till now, whatever the application we have designed in VB 6.0, all are based on SDI, single document interface forms. Okay, in today's concept, in today's application, we are going to design the application to implement, that is MDI forms, multiple document interface forms. So I will just give another example for MDI application. The best example is Microsoft Word. See, when I open Microsoft Word, it will appear the window like this. As the window is, this application, this form is designed to have the menu, using the menu bar. Then it has also the, that is, standard toolbar. Okay, then it has status bar, then title bar, all those things are designed. Fine. See, in MS Word, when I type something and if I want to open another form here, then you can just directly open by going to file menu and selecting the blank form. See here, in MS Word, the second document form or the second form is opened. Okay, so basically here in MS Word, two forms are there. You can observe here in the taskbar. See, we have document 1 as well as document 2 without saving the first document, or as the first document we have, as it is opened or as it is visible, we can able to open the second document, or you can also able to open the third document if you want. See, document number 3, third document is opened. All the three documents are present here. You can observe through the taskbar here. Document 1, document 2, document 3. Likewise, multiple forms can be opened. Okay, there is no restriction to have only a single form, but wherein in case of the application called, that is, Notepad, we can only open a single form. Okay, so this Notepad application is designed based on SDI, single document interface application, and the MS Word, Microsoft Word, is designed based on MDI application, that is multiple document interface. So we'll see how to design the MDI forms. So we'll see now how to design the MDI forms in Visual Basic application. So start the application, Microsoft Visual Basic 6.0, select standard exe project. See, when you select standard exe project, by default every project will have a single form, that is a normal form. See, you can observe here in the project explorer window, here we have the hierarchy. So in under project 1 we have the single form, that is form 1 in the forms folder. So every project, every blank project or every standard exe project will have at least one form when you start the project. Okay, then later on you can add many more forms as required. So here, when you run the application here, this blank application, the blank form will look like this. You can increase the size, or that is height as well as width of the form. Okay, so the blank form will look like this. And now observe here, I will add another form here. So how to add the form? We already know that you can either right click on this project and select add and click on add, and it will ask what type of form you have to add. So select the form itself, that is simple form, click on open. The second form is added for the same project. See, project 1, form 2. For the same project here we have added two forms, two simple forms here. Next, if I want to add the another form, third form also, then you can directly right click on the project and you can add here, or you can right click anywhere on the project explorer here and you can add the form here. Or also you can just click on project menu and you can click on add form. It will allow us to add the form. So select on form and click on open. Now see here how many forms are added here for the project. We have three different forms here. That is the form, first form name is form 1, second form name is form 2, then form 3. So by default when you started with the project, form 1 was present. Okay, the basic form, that is the first by default form. Then you have added another two forms, that is form 2 as well as form 3. You can rename them in the properties here. Fine. Now when I run the application here, see here I have not changed any of the properties here, just I am trying to run the application. When I run the application here, which form is going to be displayed for me? That is form 1 will be displayed. See, when you run the application here, only form 1 is displayed on the screen. Why? Because this form 1 will be the startup form by default. The form, whatever the form that is selected at the startup of the standard exe project, that will be the standard, that is startup object, that will be selected as startup object. So now form 1 is visible. Now I want to change this startup object to form 2. I want the form 2 to be appeared when I run the application. See, you can just change that property by right clicking on the project here and select project properties, or whatever the project name, project 1 properties. Then here you can observe this combo box called startup object. So we have to change the startup object here to change which form to appear when you run the application, when you start the application, what particular form should be appeared on the screen. So you can select here. So by default it was form 1. Now you can change this to form 2 or form 3, whatever you like. So I will just change it to form 2. Now click on OK. And now when you run the application here, instead of form 1, as we have previously, when I run the application, form 1 was displayed. Now when I run the application here, as we change the startup object to form 2, see, when I run the application, form 2 is visible here. Okay, form 2 can be viewed by the user when the application is started. Likewise, you can change the startup object to form 3 as well. Project properties, startup object, form 3. Okay, when you run the application, form 3 will be visible here. Fine. Now only among these three, only one form, single form will be visible at a time. Okay, when you run the application here. But now what I will do, I will design the application, or I will add the MDI form here. Basically, remember that MDI form is nothing but the form which acts as the container to hold other forms. Okay, see, the form that acts as the container to hold the other forms. So MDI form will act as the parent form here, wherein other forms in the sense form 1, form 2 and form 3 in our example acts as the child forms, wherein the MDI form, which is the parent form, acts as the container to hold all other child forms. That is form 1, form 2, form 3 are acting as the child forms, where MDI form acts as the parent form. The parent form, the MDI form will act as the container to hold these other three forms. See, now when I want to add the MDI form here, there are different ways to add the MDI form. Either you can right click on the Project Explorer window and select add and click on MDI form, or you can right click on the project here and add MDI form, or you can also add the MDI form by clicking on the project menu and select add MDI form. See, when you select add MDI form option or menu, it will appear the dialog box like this, and it is going to have the two tabs. First one is new tab and existing tab. If you have already existing the MDI form, if you want to open the MDI form which is already present in your computer, then you can go for the existing tab and you can go to the location where the MDI form is select that is present icon, and you can select that. Or if you want to add the new MDI form, click on new and select MDI form and click on open. See, when I inserted the MDI form, this is the MDI form how actually it looks. Now you can observe here in the Project Explorer window in the hierarchy. Previously, we had only form 1, form 2 and form 3. Now when we have inserted the MDI form, another object that is MDI form 1 is added here. The name of the MDI form is MDI form 1 by default. And always remember that for a single project, only one MDI form can be inserted. Only one MDI form can be inserted for any project. We cannot insert multiple MDI forms here. See here, when you try to insert the second MDI form, it is not allowing me to insert the second MDI form. In the sense, this MDI form option is disabled. Okay, for a single project, only one MDI form can be inserted. And also remember that for this MDI form, we cannot insert the controls on this MDI form like your other simple forms. We would have inserted, or we would have, that is, dragged and dropped several number of components, right, or controls, right? But here it is not the case. For the MDI form, we cannot, that is, add the controls except the control is having align property, or if the control is not visible at the runtime. It means that whenever any control in the toolbox is having the align property, that control can be added to the MDI form. Or if the control that is not visible at the runtime, that also can be added to the MDI form. So already we know that the one control that is not visible at the runtime, that is the timer control. So we can add the timer control for the MDI form, and also the control which has the align property, the control which has the align property. Alignment property is different, alignment property is different, align property is different. Okay, so the only control that has the align property is your picture box. So you can always remember that you can insert the picture box control and a timer control for the MDI form on the MDI form. Other than these two controls, you cannot insert the other controls here that are present on the toolbox. Fine. And except these two controls, picture box and timer control, you can insert the menu bar as well as the toolbar. Already we have discussed how to design the menu bar, so you can insert or you can design the menu bar for the MDI form. That can be done. And also you can design the standard toolbar. See, VB also has the standard toolbar, right? So you can also design the standard toolbar. In the next sessions, we are going to study how to design the standard toolbars for the VB forms. Fine. So remember that except the timer property and picture box property and also the menu bar and toolbar, none of the other controls can be inserted on MDI form. MDI form acts as the parent form wherein it is going to be it can able to contain the other form. It acts as the container to hold the other forms. Okay, it acts as the parent form. And whenever the MDI form is added to the project, the MDI form will act as the parent form and the other forms, these other forms, form 1, form 2, form 2, form 3, the simple forms. Okay, these other forms will act as the child forms. Child forms. Now see here, when I run the application here, what was the startup object we have set previously? That is form 3. See, when I run the application here, form 3 is displayed. Form 1, form 2 and also MDI form is not visible because the startup object we have set it to form 3. Now, if you want to demonstrate the MDI form, how actually it works. As I told, MDI form is acting as the container, parent form. It acts as the parent form and also it acts as the container in the sense it will act as this like window wherein in that window or in that container the other forms, form 1, form 2, form 3 will act as the child forms. They will appear, form 1, form 2, form 3 will appear inside the container, inside the MDI form. Okay, now see here, when I want to demonstrate the MDI form, we have to change the startup object to MDI form and also one more very important property for the MDI form, that is, see here, first I will change the project properties here, project 1 properties, and I will set the startup object to MDI form. Now, when you run the application here, when you start the application here, which form will be displayed on the screen? The MDI form will be displayed on the screen. Just observe here. See, the MDI form is displaying on the screen. I will just minimize this one, the application. See, now the MDI form is displaying on the screen. But as I told, the concept of MDI form is that MDI form acts as the parent form and also it acts as the container to hold the other forms that are present in the project. But other than MDI form, we had form 1, form 2, form 3. You might ask the question that form 1, form 2, form 3 are why they are not displaying on the MDI form, as MDI form is acting as the parent form and also the container. It must contain the other three forms, right? Yes, exactly. But the thing is, we have to set one of the very important property for those other child forms. The property is called as MDI child property. Okay, every other forms, okay, every other simple forms are going to have the property in the properties window called as MDI child property. By default, that property will be set to false when you insert any of the forms. Okay, so whenever you want to implement the MDI concept or MDI form concept, you have to insert the MDI form. After inserting the MDI form, you have to change the startup object to MDI form. Then remember to change the property of the other forms, the child forms property called MDI child property, and set it to true. Then only they act as the children forms or child forms for the MDI form. Now, see here, I will set the particular property for each of these child forms. So I will click on the first form here, form 1, and for the form 1, see here, the properties window of the form 1 will appear here. So I will search for the property called MDI child property for the form 1. See, here we have the MDI child property. So by default it is set to false. Now you have to set to true. Okay, now only for the form 1 MDI child property is set to true. Okay, and I have not yet set the MDI child property true for form 2 as well as form 3. Now, before that is changing the MDI child property for form 2 and form 3, I will run the application here. Now, what will be the output, or what will be the that is output window screen? The MDI form will appear, and inside the MDI form, the form 1 will be present. See here. When I run the application here, see, as I told, for the MDI form, we have set the MDI child property to true for the, that is form 1. But even though we have set the true for MDI child property for the form 1, the form 1 is not displaying here, not appearing here. Why? Because we have not written the code to appear the form, that is on the MDI form. Now I will write the code here. See, we have to write the code for form load event, that is MDI form load event. Why? Because as the startup object is MDI form, so when we run the application, what all events are going to be carried out, as we have discussed the form events in the previous earlier sections. So first and foremost event when you run any application is initialize event. Okay, initialize event is the first and foremost event when you run the application. After immediately initialize event, what event will be carried out, or what event will be that is called performed? Form load event will be performed. Form load event is nothing but it is going to load the resources to the application, whatever the resources are required. And whenever the particular event is called, or whenever the particular event is performed, its respective code, or whatever the code we have written for the respective event, is going to be carried out, as VB is the event driven programming language. Now I will write the code for MDI form load event, because when the MDI form load event occurs, when does MDI form load will occur? See here, when you run the application here, the startup object is MDI form. When you run the application here, see, now what particular event is occurred here? Initialize event is occurred internally, and also now before this displaying this form load event is occurred. Yes or no? MDI form load event is occurred. Yes. Now we have to write the code for MDI form load event, that whenever the form load event occurs, MDI form load event occurs, it has to display what? The forms, other forms, its child forms. So I will write the code here for the MDI form load event. Double click on this MDI form. See, when you double click on the MDI form, this skeleton, this code skeleton will appear, that is private sub object name underscore the event name. Object is we are going to write for MDI form. We have not changed the name. So we are going to write the code for MDI form for which event? Load event. So whenever the load event of MDI form will occur, this code has to be executed. So what code I am going to write? Just concentrate here. I want to display what? Form 1. So how to display? How to make it to appear the form 1? What is the method to show the form, or to display the form? That is show method. So when MDI form load event occurs, the form 1 has to be made available or shown. So form1 dot show, form form1 dot show method. Okay, now when I run the applications here, when the MDI form load event occurs, the form 1 will be displayed. So where the form 1 is going to be displayed? Because for form 1, you can observe here, for the form 1, we have changed one of the very important property called MDI child property and set it to true. So it is acting as, the form 1 is acting as what? The child of MDI form. So MDI child forms are going to be contained within the MDI parent form. Now run the application here. See what it is displaying. This is MDI form. I will just minimize the background application here, VB application. See here, this is MDI form. Okay, and within this MDI form we have what? The form 1. You can see here. You can just drag and set it anywhere. But anywhere in the sense, but within the parent form, within the parent MDI form itself. So you can just maximize the MDI form and you can just drag and set anywhere the child form. See, when you set it here, by default automatically the scroll bar will appear here for the MDI form. You can observe here. You can just scroll, okay, as required. You can just scroll as required. The scroll bar will appear. If you just set it here, the vertical scroll bar will also appear here. See, the vertical scroll bar will also appear here likewise. Okay, so basically MDI form is going to act as the container to hold the other children forms within the parent form, within the parent MDI forms. Now observe here, I will write the code for the same MDI form load event only, that is to display the other two forms, form2.show and also form3.show. But observe here, we have not set the MDI child property true for form 2 as well as form 3. Before setting the property MDI child property to true for form 2 and form 3, I will just run the application here. Now see what happens. See, MDI form is there and we have set the MDI child property for only form 1. Hence, only form 1 is appearing within, or it is acting as the form 1 is within the MDI form. If you just move the MDI form, its contents or its whatever the forms that are present within this container form MDI form, that are also going to move. And what about form 2 and form 3? Form 2 and form 3 are not the child forms of MDI2 still, because we have not yet set that property MDI child property to true. So hence these two, that is form 2 as well as form 3, are acting as the individual forms like previous to your previous projects. Okay, form 2 and form 3 are acting as the individual forms. So what is the difference between MDI forms and SDI forms? This one is the main difference. Form 2 and form 3 are acting as individual forms. So you can just close this form directly. You can close this form directly. And when you want to close this MDI form, directly you can just close this MDI form. Whenever you close the MDI form or the parent form, whatever the subforms are present or whatever the child forms are present within the MDI form, all are going to be closed automatically. Or if there are multiple child forms are there, then you can also directly close the child forms, respective child forms. Okay, now I will close the MDI form. Now what I will do, I will set the MDI child property true for both the remaining, that is form 2 as well as form 3. You can observe here in the project explorer window, whenever you set the MDI child property for the other forms, that is already I have set MDI child property true for form 1. Now you can observe here this highlighted, the icon is highlighted here. Okay, so this one is acting as the parent form MDI form and this form 1 is acting as the child form, and it is highlighted here by changing the icon here as it is the child form MDI child form. Now I will change the property of form 2 as well. So form 2, what I will do, I will change the MDI child property and set it to true. Now when I run the application here, see, you can see here, you can see the change here in the project explorer window. Form 2 is also highlighted with this icon saying that it means that it's also MDI child property set to true, and only form 3's MDI child property is not at set to true. Okay, now when you run the application, what will be the output window, output form window? See here, form 1 and form 2 will be the child forms for MDI form and form 3 will be the individual form. It is not going to be contained within MDI form. Now run the application. See here, this is MDI form. I will just minimize the background application so that it can be visible clearly. Okay, now see here, this is MDI form, and when you just move this parent form MDI form, its content or whatever the contained forms are there, that are going to be moved directly. Okay, whatever the changes you are going to apply for MDI form, it will be affected to the other forms also. But what about the form 3? It is acting as the individual form, SDI form, single document interface form. Okay, so it is acting as the individual form. If you want to close this directly, you can close this application. And what about this MDI form? See here, when I maximize, or if you just increase, you can just increase the width, height, like different properties of the MDI forms also. Okay, but one thing here, directly you can close any one form you want. Okay, for example, if I want to close the form 2 only, the child form of MDI form, we have two child forms, form 1 and form 2. If you want to close only form 2, then that can be done. Okay, if you want to close the form 1 also, that can also be done. The MDI form, that is the container form or the parent form, will be as it is. Or you can close the application by closing the MDI form also. Or when you run the applications here, if you want to minimize the other forms, see, when you minimize the individual form here, the SDI form, where it will appear, where the minimized form will appear, the minimized form will appear, or it will hide inside what? The taskbar. See here, when I minimize here, and the that is form 3 is minimized, the SDI form is minimized, and it will appear in the taskbar. You can see here, the form 3 is present in the taskbar. If you click on here, it will appear here. But what about these forms, the child forms, when you minimize? Remember that when you minimize the MDI child forms, they are not going to be highlighted, or they are not going to be hidden within the taskbar, wherein they are going to be present within the, that is at the bottom of the MDI parent form itself. See, I will just minimize this child form here. Where it is appearing? It is appearing at the bottom of the MDI parent form. If I minimize this also, it will also appear as the bottom, at the bottom of the MDI parent form. It will not, the child forms of MDI forms will not go to the, or will not be hidden under the taskbar. Only the SDI forms, the individual forms or the SDI forms will, whenever you minimize them, they are going to be hidden within the taskbar. Fine. So if you want to, you can just maximize them. See, the form 1 is maximized here. See, this is complete thing is form 1, MDI form 1. You can just decrease that, restore to default size form 1, and this one you can maximize here form 2, and you can restore to default size form 2, form 1. And if you directly close the MDI parent form, it will close the MDI parent form along with the children forms, child forms as well. See, form 1, form 2, and also MDI parent form will be closed whenever you click close button for the MDI parent form. See, and whenever you want to close the individual forms or the SDA forms, you have to individually close each and every form. See, okay. So this is about MDI form. So now, as I told, the MDI form cannot hold the other controls except the control is having what? The align property, or if the control is not going to appear when you run the application, only that type of controls can be included or added to the MDI forms. Okay, that means only two controls are there, that is picture box as well as timer. Other than these two controls, we cannot add the other controls that are present on the toolbox here. For example, if you try to add the label, just if you double click on the label, it has to actually appear on the form, but it is giving me an error. See, controls without the align property cannot be placed directly on the MDI form. Okay, if you try to add the command button, the same error you are going to get. Fine. But if you try to add the picture box, that is acceptable. The picture box is added here. Okay, you can insert the pictures because the picture box is having what property? See here, the picture box is having the align property. As the picture box is having align property, it is accepted to insert on the MDI form. Okay, and also the timer can be inserted. See here, the timer can be inserted because when you run the application here, the timer control will not be visible at the runtime. Okay, it will be working in the background itself. Hence, that can also be accepted. So other than these timer control as well as picture box, none of the controls can be inserted on the MDI form except what? The menu bar. We can design the menu bar as well as the toolbar for the MDI form. This is about designing of MDI form. One more thing, I will just show you the example about the Visual Basic application itself. Okay, see here, Visual Basic is designed using either SDI form or MDI form. That we have to understand here. Okay, I will just demonstrate you. See here, here in the Visual Basic we have different forms. Yes, we have the Project Explorer window form. This is like a one form. Yes, we can decrease the size here. Yes, the Project Explorer window is also a one window or one form, and also the properties window. This is also the second form. Okay, and what about the form layout window? Okay, the form layout window will act as the other another form. Yes or no? The difference is we have written the or we have designed this form. That's all. Okay, we have written the code and we have designed this form to hold these controls. That's all. Okay, they are also like the forms itself. And also, what about the toolbox here? Toolbox is another form here. Yes or no? So here in Visual Basic, the complete application is acting as what? The parent form, the MDI form to hold the other forms. So what other forms this Visual Basic is holding? Visual Basic, the complete form is the parent form, the MDI form, and it is holding the other forms such as the toolbox form, the first form, and the second form is the properties form, third form is Project Explorer form, and fourth form is form layout form. Likewise, it is holding what? The different forms. Okay, so we can say that the Visual Basic 6.0 is also developed based on MDI application, MDI form concept only. Yes, just you can observe here. I will run the application here. See, before running the application, I will set the MDI child property true for form 3 as well. Okay, for the form 3 also, I will set the MDI child property. So, how to set that? Select form 3 and search for the property called MDI child. See, we have the MDI child property and set it to true. And when you run the application here we have the MDI form. I will just maximize this one. Or you can change the property of this MDI form. The property called, what property we have to set to? When I run the application, it has to be maximized. That is window state property to maximized. Okay, for the MDI form, for MDI form 1, we have changed the property called window state to maximized. So when I run the application, the startup object is MDI form itself. So it will appear as the maximized form. Okay, so now we have set the MDI child property true for form 1, form 2 as well as form 3. Hence, all the three forms are acting as the means all the three forms are within the parent form, within the MDI parent form. So these are the contained forms that are present within the parent form. So when you close the parent form or the MDI form, all the three child forms as well as the MDI form will be closed. Now when I run the application, these will appear here. You can resize them. Okay, anyway, you can resize them, or if you want to close a single form, then you can close a single form, or if you want to minimize the single form, you can minimize the single form, or if you want to set it to some other position, you can set it to some other position by dragging. Fine. Now when I run the application here, I want to just say that the VB application itself, VB Microsoft Visual Basic 6.0 application is also developed based on the concept of MDI. I want to just say that. How? You can observe here. You can just assume the form 3 as the properties window, where it will be present here, somewhere here at the right side. Okay, then I will just set the form 2 as the project explorer window. So it will be around this size and it will be inserted, or it will be set somewhere here. Yes, somewhere here below this one, the properties window, and I will just set this form 1 as the toolbox. So here the toolbox will be appeared somewhere here, and you can add another form here, form 4, and you can set the child property, MDI child property, to true for form 4, and you can set the form 4 for what? Here, for form layout window. Yes, for the form layout window. Likewise, the VB 6.0 is also developed based on the concept of MDI concept itself, MDI form concept itself. Okay, this is how to design the MDI forms. Okay, this tutorial completes the designing of MDI forms. Basically, MDI forms acts as the container, and it will act as the parent form to hold the other forms. Okay, other forms in the child forms. So for every project, for each and every project in VB, we can only add a single MDI form, and in the MDI form you cannot insert the controls except the control that is having the align property, as well as the control that is not going to appear at the runtime. Only except these two controls, you cannot add any other control on the MDI form. And you can design the menu bar and toolbar for the MDI form. Already I had shown the steps to design the menu bar. So this completes the tutorial for designing the MDI form. Thank you.